Coach, got the season started on Saturday. When we looked at the numbers, there was a little bit of confusion on my end. The raw score kind of said one thing, but then when the Road to Nationals come out ranked 9th after the opening weekend, I think that maybe there's some education that needs to happen for us fans about where the numbers are at, what numbers mean at the start of the season, because it feels like they might not mean what we think they mean.
No, our performance, they did a great job. We have a new code this year. We have a new evaluation system for the officials. The scoring was definitely probably tighter than what most people thought they were actually going to see. And that's across the board. I think a lot of people were surprised that to have a 195.7 and you're in the top 10 is surprising for a lot of people compared to maybe last year's scores. So it's really about the performance, and we talked about that going into that. We knew and prepared our athletes. They looked at some of the judges' education videos before, so they knew what was going to be taking place and what the officials were going to be looking at. So I think in that sense, that didn't surprise them, and I think it helped our athletes prepare for that competition. So when they walked out there, they weren't looking at the scores. They were just really focused in on the performances. And so I was really proud of them that they didn't let those scores coming up implode their performances.
Do you feel like this is a necessary thing? Is it a good thing to do this? What's your feeling on it?
I will be able to tell you more in a few weeks. This is just the first week of evaluation, so scores are a little different across the country still. What we have to do is, after each meet, we have to upload all our videos of all of our routines into a system, and then those routines are evaluated by another set of judges, and then that feedback goes out. And so they're trying to keep all the officiating on the same level, and so we may see that even out as we go in. I don't know if it'll swing if the pendulum will swing right, left, in the middle. We're not sure yet. So it's a work in progress, and we'll see where it goes.
For both of you, is it a good reminder that to focus on your process and what you do, and then let the numbers fall where they fall? Is just another reminder of that?
Yeah, I think that, like Tanya said, us not really focusing on scores. I know my whole time here, scores has never been a big thing for us to focus on as a team. It's more just our performance as a team. So I think that really set us up to stay focused and dialed in Oceanside, because we could have looked at our first score after floor and been like, uh-oh, we don't belong to be here, but we just took it head on and focused on doing the best gymnastics that we could, and we ended up in a great spot.
Yeah, very similar to what Jade was saying. Tanya kind of prepared us for that, and first inter squads and everything, we saw kind of where we were at. So I think just focusing on your own performance and like how to start the season and not really on those scores, I think the team did an amazing job with that, and that we did end in a really good spot. So yeah.
And I was going to add to that too. The officiating at Oceanside was consistent across the meet, so that wasn't. Our scores weren't the only scores that were tight. You were seeing that for every team. So as long as that happens with every team, then the rankings end up where they need to be. It's when you have one team getting scored really high and the rest really low, there's an issue there. So I think the officiating, the officials did a good job with that. And that is the other reason that we can't get caught up in what they're doing. Each week we try to go into the gym, minimize our deductions. It's good feedback that we were able to receive from them. We know where our deductions are. Now we can go back in and work on those little things to try to minimize and reduce the deductions for this next week.
So, Jade, for the first meet of the new season, how did you feel about your performance, and maybe what would you like to, if there's anything to focus on going forward?
Yeah, I think for my first competition for myself overall. I did a really good job. I had not a whole lot of time to really get ready for the season, so I was happy with how I did. I mean, one thing I want to focus on is sticking my vault, I guess. But other than that, yeah, I think I'm happy with every routine that I did.
Yeah, I was super happy that I was kind of able to go out there and trust my gymnastics and perform the way I wanted to. In the future, kind of same as Jade, I want to over-rotate my vault or maybe stick it, or I want to stick it, not maybe. And then maybe even explore a little bit more with some beam. But yeah, I was super happy with my first meet.
Even with some of the potential disappointments of that first score, you're up 10 spots in the rankings. I'm curious for all three of you, just kind of what does that feel like after maybe some initial disappointment to see yourself move from top 25 to top 10?
Yeah, I really don't, like I said, even if we would have gone back 3 or 4 years ago, this would have been a really high score. So there wasn't much disappointment in the score when you started to look across the board. And like I said, to have a win against a top 10 opponent, preseason ranked opponent going in is huge for us. And the consistency and know that we have so much growth. Those are all really positives. Again, we know what we're capable of doing, and we do believe that we can get stronger and build from there. So I think that, like I said, I don't feel like any of us were deflated from that. We talked a lot about we can't fight those scores. We can only do the best performances. Once you start fighting those scores, you start to tighten up your performances and you don't relax and do what you're capable of doing. So this was a good lesson to go into this season knowing that it's going to be a strict, tight evaluating system. So try to relax and do the best performance you can. So I think we learned a lot from this experience. And I think that we saw a little bit more tightness earlier in December when we started talking about how they were going to evaluate. So we had a month to kind of prepare for this a little bit.
Jade, I'm sorry if this is a horse that's beat dead for you at this point, but just going from the Olympic team back to competing at the college level at one meet under your belt now, just curious, kind of how are you feeling? What's that transition like for you, and what are the rest of the aspirations for the season?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about where we started. It was hard to not be here a lot in the fall with them, but they worked really hard while I was gone and continued to work hard together when I got back. And that really just makes all the difference in the world when we're able to all be together, bond, connect, because that just allows us to have fun with it and then in the end do our best gymnastics. So I was just really proud of them. We also hit 28 for 28 on the first meet, which is pretty cool and a really good building spot for us. I guess I'll start. It just makes me really happy to see her out there again, being happy and doing what she loves. I think after we can all say we almost wanted to cry when she landed her beam dismount last weekend because we know where she was last year and how happy she is and the growth that she's made in the sport and just being herself again. So it was really nice to see that.
Yeah, I know some girls actually did cry. Some tears came out. I think it was just such a grateful, we had such an amazing feeling that she was able to go out there and do the amazing gymnastics that we know she's capable of and that she's able to be in this position again because there's a point where she didn't know, she was going to be able to compete. So I think we were all just feeling that love and connection and just super happy for her.
Yeah. There's a lot of gratitude, and I think it goes back to you just never take anything for granted. And to have this opportunity, and each meet is an opportunity, and it was just wonderful to be able to see her come back from that. And she fights it every single day. It's not something that's gone. It's something that she's learned to live with, and there is a lot of unknowns, so we just make the most of every day that she can compete with us.
Caitlin, just kind of going back, I know you guys
Yeah, I mean, it can be really tough if you kind of perceive it that way, but I think our team does a really good job about looking at it in a positive aspect, kind of like, okay, now we know where we're starting. So now we get to get better and build more, and it's kind of hopefully exciting to be like, yeah, now I can actually get better and know what to focus on. And that I think we really focus on lifting each other up and like finding a way to make it not so like daunting, I guess, you know? So, yeah.
And I know that, while Jade's been gone, just you've kind of been with the team since they've kind of, after last season and growing into this season, just what are these team's goals and how have you kind of seen the team grow since last season?
Yeah, this team this year, we really came together and we're like, we wanted to be very cohesive. We wanted to all be on the same page. We have a team motto of all in together, so not just gymnastics, but just being connected as individuals and reaching those goals together. And we want to be one of the top 8 teams in the nation, and fight for that spot in nationals. And I think we've done a really good job of just coming together, being able to have conversations and work towards those goals.
And with those goals, I mean, jumping up in the rankings, did that give you guys a little sense of confidence? Was there any chatter in the group chat about that? I know you guys, that's just a ranking,
Yeah.
but did it give you a little bit of confidence that, hey, like we can make some noise this year, like this is going to be our year?
Yeah, I mean, I think even before the meet, I think we felt it. I was like, this is going to be a great year. Like, I think everyone is just capable of so much. And I think it's just kind of, you get excited, to see stuff like that our hard work is paying off. And hopefully it's just going straight up from here. Yeah.
And I know, Jade, you were talking about just how excited you were to finally focus on the difference between a collegiate routine, and not like a simplified elite routine. Can you tell just fans what the difference is between the two, some of the differences, and what you like most about being able just to practice a collegiate routine now and focus all on that?
Yeah, I just feel like this year I have time to actually work on only these routines and make them as perfect as I can. And it was also fun for me to go back and, I'll use vault for example. I've never done a 1.5 on vault in my life, but I wanted to play with it this year, just something new and fun to play with to kind of give me that light every single day. So it's like I look at it for me as a fun little challenge to do new things, but also make them as perfect as possible because it's the only thing I have to focus on right now.
And I know you've obviously been a leader on this team, maybe by action since you stepped foot on campus, but how do you feel like you've grown as leaders since you came to Corvallis, and how would you describe your leadership? How do you describe your role as a leader?
Yeah, I feel like probably my freshman and sophomore year, I was more of a lead by example. I was pretty quiet, just go do the work, do the extra work, and see who I can pull along. But I feel like now I use my voice a little bit more, and I've been through a lot in gymnastics, so I know kind of what to say to the girls and how to help them in any aspect, whether it's gymnastics, life. Yeah, so, and I feel like me, Sage, and G this year do a really good job at kind of connecting together. We both can bring a lot of different things to the table, so it's good for the girls to have 3 separate people to go to.
And obviously, the whole world of sports coach this year is changing with conference realignment. What can you just tell fans to expect from collegiate gymnastics and how you've kind of seen it change internally with conference realignment and things like that going into this brand new season?
For us, we're still focused in on the same thing, and that's being one of the top teams in the country. That doesn't change for us. Obviously, we're competing independently this year, and we're able to go all over the country. So we're competing against the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC. We have away meets, and so that's great. Those, opportunities to really detail and sharpen ourselves by competing against the best teams in the country across all conferences has allowed us, not having that stronghold of having to only compete against the same teams. We now get to go out and compete against everyone. And so that actually we're hoping will bring a strength to our program because we'll get to compete across so many venues and so many different teams that we'll get to see.
Was there a routine on the weekend that maybe stood out to you? Somebody maybe surprised you a little bit or may exceeded your expectations?
I don't know that they exceeded. I mean, Jade did an amazing floor routine. That was one of the really big highlights there. And the other routine that was really did a great job, Jennifer McMillan did an amazing job on bars. We see some incredible routines from her on beam and bars, but she really put it together there. And so that's the exciting thing. We see some of the best routines in the country in the gym from a lot of different athletes. So to see them put that together and put that out on the floor is really, really exciting. So those were, I mean, G did her vault for the first time, her 1.5 in competition. So there were so many things. And Sydney came back from her injury and did a really solid beam routine. So there were a lot of exceptional routines that we saw, but those were a few of the big highlights, I think.
How do you feel about the team's depth this season, just across the board?
We love to have it, and we hope to have it at the end as well. Last year, we definitely learned that you don't take that for granted, and you make the most of it, and to be able to see everyone continue to work hard, it pushes us and makes us stronger. Those that are competing have to fight for those lineup positions week in and week out. No one takes anything for granted, and so I think that's, it's a healthy competition, pushing each other, and it's what should make us stronger in the end.
My understanding is that ticket sales for this season are really, really good. What's that level of support mean when you come home to Gill Coliseum? Because my understanding is ticket sales are really strong for
Yeah.
this whole.
I think it's great, but you might want to talk to them. They're the ones that compete in front of them. So, it's amazing, and we're excited to have Beaver Nation support us.
Yeah, it means everything to us. We're really excited when we get in there and it's a packed house. I think we can all say that when we had Utah in here and it was completely sold out, that was one of the greatest memories of our lives. So it really means a lot that they continue to come back and support us and give us all their love.
Yeah, I mean, when Beaver Nation shows up, you feel the love, you feel the connection, you're out there waving and it's just smiles, and it's so amazing to go out there and be like, wow, these people are here because they like what we do and they support us, and it's very grateful for that, yeah.
And we're so proud of having a group of women that just excel every week in and week out. I think that this country is really held on strong to women's athletics right now. There's a surge in many sports across the country, and gymnastics is one of those that you're seeing sell out across the country. And so we're excited that Beaver Nation and Oregon have really held on to our sport and help elevate us. So that's a great experience to experience week in and week out.